Here with the head coach of the Tigers of Savannah State University, Thomas Howard. Coach, on Monday you had a big talk to your team about the excitement about getting everybody back, and you can just see there's just a different wave of emotion and just a positive wave of emotion coming over everyone. Now you've got everyone back, and you're on the field for the first time today. Let's talk about the excitement of your squad right now as we embark on this new chapter in Savannah State football.
I mean, I think it's excitement everywhere, not just the players, the coaches, and the people around the place on campus excited to see, getting out there for the first time today and seeing those toys move around, the new guys and some of the old guys that really worked hard this offseason to get better. And I think the excitement of the young men are even more exciting for us as a staff as we get a chance to meet with these guys and watching the film from today's practice and just seeing how well they moved around and some of the improvements from this offseason. And then excited about a lot of the new guys that we get to see on film and finally touch them on a regular basis because they're here. And that's something that I definitely am excited about. And I think it's going to bode well for this season with some new things happening.
In this first day of practice, and as we get set to go along, as we get further and further toward that first game against South Carolina State on August 29th, in these first couple of days of practice, what's the emphasis that you're trying to put to your guys right now in terms of being able to have them grasp defensively, offensively, special teams wise? What's those first couple of days like here? In this
Man, it's going to be very fundamentally sound, working on the fundamentals and techniques, focusing in on the small details for those guys. So now as they understand what they're doing offensively or defensively or even on special teams, they know exactly what we're asking them to do as players, what we want them to look at, how they need to move with their first step, how they need to bring their hat in hands and things like that. That we're talking about on each and every day in practice. Just the fundamentals at each and every position, from everything so small as, like I said, where we want your aiming point on this particular thing, or how you need to attack with the mentality, having, a dominant mentality and things like that, an attack mode, and just kind of how we're doing it. The excitement and the type of players that we're looking for on these different special teams units. They're going to have to lead us and help us to win these championships that we're trying to get done. And I think that's a good thing. And they're taking the coaching. And I think that's a big part of it.
Let's look at the three units right now. And of course, the biggest question that you've been asked since you took the job is, who's going to be the trigger man? Who's going to be the guy that leads this squad? You've got about 4 or 5 guys out there that are vying for that top spot. Mm-hmm. What do you see from the quarterback position, and what do you expect from these quarterbacks as we get to take on this season?
I'm excited to see the competition. I think the one thing that's happened over the course of the summer is we had several of those guys putting a lot of time in to get better. Meeting with the offensive coordinator, Coach Burrell, and just checking in with him on each and every day, going through their fundamentals, talking the reads and the different things that they need to do. And I think the one thing that we have that adds to that is we got 3 guys coming back with experience that have played college football, to go along with some of the other young men that are going to be vying for this job. I think that adds to the excitement. So, I know people are asking, well, hey, who's that number? And what's that guy? And this guy's doing this, because I didn't put him in a number. I didn't want him in a number. They actually had a number today. But it's going to make for it to be an interesting battle. Even as guys watch us on social media and they see the guys out there throwing, they're not going to know who it is. So, that's kind of some of the mystery that we want. But man, we finished day 1. We still got several more practices to go to figure out who is that trigger man. But like I said, I think each one of the guys has something that they do better than the other or more comfortable in a certain situation. So we're going to allow that to help us as we make that decision.
As you look at the other skill positions offensively, wide receiver wise, you got Sincere Clark, who's been a proven veteran in that spot. But everything else is a lot of youth on that side when you look at this roster. And, everyone's vying for a spot. You look at those guys along the offensive line. You look at those guys along the wide receiver spots and the running back spots. It's going to be a lot of youth and a lot of inexperience there. Talk about those skill spots and the guys up front as far as being able to decide who's going to lead this team going into this.
I think with the guys up front, and I'll start there because those are some of the most important guys you have on your offense and even on defense when we get to that. But I think, on the line, we got a lot of guys that played last year, whether how much and all of that stuff, but a lot of guys with game experience. And I think we brought in some guys from some outside places with transfers and the high school guys that we signed that are going to be able to add. We brought in a couple high school guys that won state championships, and those guys are coming in and already in the first day because of what they did and how they know how to win. Their mentality is fitting in like veterans. I think some of the transfer guys that we got in here got some shocks with some guys that we got, big athletic kids. And that's one of the things that we wanted to do up front because we want to be able to move around the field. And so I think it's going to add to the pieces that we already have that have played. And I think the biggest thing at every position, competition is key. And I think we're going to have that with some of the guys that are back and the new guys that are added. So it's going to be fun to figure that out. And we got enough bodies to go in and compete to do that. And so even with injuries, you'll be okay. I think at some of the other positions, the receiver position, shoot, we're going to be young. We wanted to get more speed. We brought in some speed guys. We got return guys in those groups, and guys with return experience. We're going to be young, but I think it's going to be fun to figure it out. And the coaches got to do a great job of coaching those young players up to go along with Sincere, who has been a leader. He's been doing it this offseason with being at every workout and talking to the young receivers and the new receivers. His experience is definitely going to help us. I think in the running back room, shoot, we got a list of guys. We got tall ones, we got bigger ones, we got smaller ones, we got guys with experience at the major Division I level. That I think that's going to add to what we can do as well. Some of the young guys we got that have played a lot of football, so we are excited about that group. And then, like I talked about with the one group that not a lot of people are talking about because it's a smaller group is the tight end group. And I think we got two really good guys that can do a little bit of everything. I think we got a young guy that came in that's going to shock everybody because of how big they're going to be like, how'd they get this guy in here? And so, he's been around all summer, that young man. And I'm excited as we move forward with him and see him develop along with the other guys that we have. I think that group is going to be really, really strong. And, Coach Nelson does a great job coaching those guys up. And so I'm excited to see what they do as they get out on the field and we just continue to get better.
As we look on the other side of the ball, if there's one spot of the ball that really took a hit with the defensive side of the ball, whether it's through graduation,
right.
with transfers, there's going to be a lot of newness on that side of the football. Maybe a couple of returners, a couple of guys that do have experience, but it's going to be a lot of young guys on that defensive side of the ball. Let's talk about what you're expecting from your defense and what we can do as far as getting this thing moving in the right direction.
I think the biggest thing is it starts up front, and we guys had some really good guys on the defensive line last year. A lot of those guys graduated or moved on and did different things. So we got some guys that are back from last year, a couple guys with some experience that have played. They got to be the leaders. They got to be the guys to push these young guys to get better. We got a good group of young kids that we brought in on the D-line, and we're going to have to see them grow. They're going to have to grow some teeth out there on the field, and they're going to take their lumps, but we're going to keep fighting with them. The good thing, they can all run. They're working to be athletic and get stronger, but they're going to learn on the fly. And so we're going to have to cover them up a little bit and help them out with the linebackers that we have. I think we got a good group of linebackers that get downhill, and they're going to be more physical and all of those things. They got to be able to run. And I think that's going to help, to go along with the fact of secondary. I think in the secondary, we've added some pieces in the secondary that can help us with some young guys, young championship experienced guys that, have played a lot of football where they were, that are going to come in here with experience, brought in a transfer that was all conference at his last institution, and had a little experience with me, so he knows what he's doing. And so I'm excited about getting him out on the field and all those other guys, man. We got some young kids that are long and athletic that can run, and we saw a little bit of it today with one of the kids, and it's like, yeah, we can't wait to talk about him more as we get further into camp. So I think defense is what wins championships for. That's what I know. And so we got to do a great job of putting those kids in position so they can excel. And so those are the things that as a staff, we're working to figure out and make sure, where we may be deficient, we can cover it up some other ways.
Speaking of what you know is definitely stopping the run. Everywhere that you've been able to go in your career, one thing that you've been able to hang your hat on is stopping the run. And there are a lot of great running backs in this conference. You talk about the preseason conference player of the year, John Terrius Thomas at Edward Waters. He's one of the best running backs, if not in the conference, in Division II football as a whole. Just talk about, the ability to be able to stop the run and how important that's going to be in the success of this team.
I think one of the things it starts with, before you get to anything, you got to have guys on the back end that can cover. And so some of the things that we do to stop the run, we get an extra guy in the box. That leaves those secondary guys by themselves. And so they have to be very disciplined and sound and understand what we're asking, playing a little different than a lot of people because we're very aggressive in the secondary. And with that, sometimes you live on the edge. So you got to have some experienced guys and guys that are comfortable. And when you recruit them, guys that fit that scheme. But like I said, for us defensively, stopping the run starts up front. And you got to be really good up front with athletic guys that can run, that are physical, that attack, and your linebackers got to get downhill. And then even with your safeties, they're going to be in that mix too. They got to come down and fit when they're needed. And I think we've done a good job over the course of my career of finding ways to do that and being creative, because sometimes you got to change things based off of what that offense may do. Sometimes it's off of what the team that we play, they got experience with me, so they kind of got an idea, and we have to work through that as well. So those are all things that we're constantly working on, trying to find new ways that we can get that extra guy in the box and take that run away.
Another thing that you're very, very passionate about is special teams. And I think that, this is probably the first time that I've seen at Savannah State where there's a guy specially meant to coach special teams, and Coach Sean Thomas will come over as the special teams coordinator. You brought in 3 kickers. You brought in 2 kickers and a punter to help us out a bit on that special team side. Just talk about having that special team spot to really be able to flip things in your direction to get this moving in the right direction.
Right. I think you win games on special teams. Those are, a lot of times people don't put a whole lot of emphasis on it, but we have to. You got to be detailed on your special teams. I think going out and getting quality players first that have experience but know what they're doing and can go out and execute, as well having a coach. And I think one of the big things at our level, you don't see too many teams that have somebody that can work with their specialist and they understand it. And so the fact that Coach Thomas is here bringing his expertise, and the fact that he's done a lot and can add to what we're doing and bring in positivity. And now, even for my specialists, they have an identity with their guys, where they're meeting with their coach and they're doing the different things. They're working on fundamentals and techniques, just like everybody else. He's got a whole thing of toys that he pulls out for those specialists to do to make sure that they're on top of each and everything. And he's touching everything on every day. A lot of the stuff that we do with our different groups, he's got it segmented. So we work in this portion and that portion and that portion of it. And I think it's doing a good job to really focus in on the details for our individual guys. I think with having a young football team, those guys are going to have to play, and they need to be coached well. They need to understand what they have to execute. And that's what we've been working to do, man. Got to execute at a high level. And I think Coach Thomas is going to help us do that.
Well, one of the big things that we're really excited about as we get set to go on this journey this season is you have the opportunity to have a coaches show, being able to promote promote the program and talk about the previous days, the previous week's games, and that sort of thing. Just talk about the excitement that you have about the coaches show and being able to really give fans of Savannah State more of an in-depth look at Savannah State football.
I mean, I think that's exciting. A lot of people have no clue what's going on down here at Savannah State. And so the fact that they're going to get to not only see what we're doing each and every week, but see portions of this campus, see some of the things around here as we talk about what's going on each week in our games. And it also promotes our student athletes. I think you get a chance to now really get a chance to identify who these guys are. It's not just a number that you see on TV or you hear when they're talking on the radio or something like that. You actually get to see them and see their development, see the things that we're doing to improve, and see some of the things that we're doing on campus as a program to try to change the fortunes and the things that people know about Savannah State. I think in order to get more people to come here and be willing to come play football here, we got to open ourselves up a little bit and let you see what we're doing and the positive that we have going on, when a lot of people just try to see negative. And so, positively promoting our student athletes, positively promoting our institution, the people that work on campus and all the things that they do that a lot of times nobody sees. You just see the game. I think that's big for this show. And, giving Savannah a voice, giving Savannah State a voice, giving our football program a voice. And for some of the big things that we have coming up that'll be coming down the line here soon, I think that'll be big to kind of introduce this and talk about that as we do it. And like I said, it was more for our players. So I'm grateful that opportunity presented itself and we were able to take shape and put things in order so we could do it.
Absolutely. Coach, we appreciate your time, and we'll let you get back to getting things ready for this season, and best of luck to you here in camp, and best of luck to you this season.
Hey, thank you so much. Again, the coaching show will air every Wednesday on YouTube, so you'll be able to see it as we get into the season. We'll do about 12 episodes, and then as we get into playoffs, it's going to add some more. So we are excited. Look forward to seeing you guys this year at our games. Make sure you get your season tickets. We got plenty that are still waiting for you. We look forward to seeing you this season. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.
All right, appreciate you, Coach.